I'm not sure if you're like me, but I'm still grappling with what's happening at one of Australia's top law firms, MinterEllison. And I've got to say, in relation to tech adoption, it's possibly the biggest story out of 2024. If you don't know, MinterEllison has set an aggressive target. 80% of their lawyers must use AI tools in their daily work by March 2025. They're deploying 3 tools: Microsoft Copilot, a secure ChatGPT variant, and a custom document generator. Now, the practicalities of this and what they're using don't interest me too much, but what I'm more fascinated by is the capacity of their leadership team, the speed of adoption, and the culture of the firm. So bear with me, I'm going to pull on a few strings. Now, if you've read Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point, you probably have also read Everett Rogers' Diffusion of Innovation. Well, in my view, Rogers' work makes Gladwell's work look like fiction. According to Everett, when any innovation enters a market, it gets adopted by different groups at different speeds. Rogers mapped these groups into 5 segments that form a beautiful bell curve. Innovators, who are 2.5%, they're the crazy brave ones who try anything new. Early adopters, 13.5%, the sensible visionaries who spot opportunity early. The early majority, 34%, pragmatists who move when benefits are proven. The late majority, 34%, conservatives who move when everyone else has moved. And the laggards, which is 16%, and they're the ones that are still using flip phones and are really proud of it. So there's no guessing where law firms typically live. Now, here's why this matters for MinterEllison's AI adoption strategy. Law firms traditionally sit firmly in the late majority category. They're conservative by nature. I'm not suggesting that that's a bad thing, it's just the way it is. Now, let me introduce you to another smart guy, Geoffrey Moore, who wrote the equally good read, Crossing the Chasm. Moore took Rogers' diffusion curve and spotted something interesting. Between the early adopters and early majority, there's a gap, and it's not a small gap, it's a freaking massive chasm that swallows promising innovations and their families whole. And this is where great technologies essentially go to die. They fail to make the leap. So here's what's fascinating about MinterEllison. They're traversing the Grand Canyon in one gigantic step. They're essentially telling their late majority lawyers to behave like early adopters. And it's like asking your conservative uncle who just got comfortable with email to start programming blockchain applications. It's a huge leap. The secret to crossing what Geoffrey Moore calls the chasm between early adopters and early majority isn't mandating adoption, it's demonstrating overwhelming value. And this is why watching MinterEllison's experiment is so fascinating. They're attempting to accelerate the natural diffusion process. Now, it's either going to be a masterclass in change management or a case study in why you can't rush cultural transformation. So that's one point. The other is this. 16 years ago, myself and a couple of partners from a national litigation practice were exposed to the work of Dr. Meredith Belbin. I went full tilt and became an accredited coach of the Belbin team roles because it has everything to do with why marketing and innovation work and don't work in law firms, and I use it every day. The other 2 partners hard-baked Belbin into their firm, and I see it still plays an active role in their cultural strategy. Meredith Belbin spent years studying why some teams succeeded brilliantly, while others with equally talented people failed miserably. And what he discovered was that successful teams need 9 different types of people, or more accurately, 9 different types of behaviors. You have the shapers, they're the driven challengers who make things happen. You've got the implementers, the practical organizers who turn ideas into action. The completer finishers, and they're the perfectionists who spot errors. The coordinators, the mature orchestrators who delegate so well. The team workers, they're the diplomats who keep everything working together. The resource investigators, the networkers who essentially find opportunities. You've got the plants, the creative problem solvers, and the monitor evaluators who are the strategic analyzers. And of course, the specialists, the single-minded experts. Now, here's why this matters for MinterEllison. Law firms are typically loaded with completer finishers and specialists. These are the detail-orientated perfectionists who triple-check everything and pride themselves on their expertise. So telling these types to trust AI is like telling a master watchmaker to use a digital timer. But successful digital transformation needs plans to imagine new possibilities and resource investigators to spot opportunities and shapers to drive change forward. The problem isn't that these roles don't exist in law firms, they do, but they're often not in positions of influence because law firms traditionally value different characteristics. And if they are, in my experience, their energy at that innovation and implementation phase comes to a very abrupt halt because everyone else in the leadership team are completer finishers and specialists, and they essentially stalled it until its death. So think about it. A completer finisher being told they must use AI tools will immediately start cataloging all the potential risks and errors. A plant being given the same tools will start imagining new possibilities for serving clients better. And this is why understanding Belbin's work is crucial for any major organisational change. It's not about changing people's natural tendencies, it's about understanding and working with them to achieve your goals. Bill Henderson, who's the professor of law at Indiana University School of Law, suggested that in all of his experience, Belbin was the lowest cost, highest ROI tool in his toolbox, and I completely agree. What we're seeing play out at Minters is genuinely audacious, and I mean that in a really good way. In an industry that typically moves at glacial pace, MinterEllison is showing real leadership. Through the combined lenses of Rogers, Moore, and Belbin, we can see both the challenges and the opportunities. They're boldly pushing beyond the traditional late majority position of law firms. They're attempting to cross Moore's chasm through clear mandates and metrics. They have the potential to harness their firm's natural diversity of thinking styles. And here's how they could make this work brilliantly. Firstly, identify and empower their natural plants and resource investigators. Let these innovators create specific valuable use cases for AI. Partner them with respected completer finishers to validate and refine these users. Use these success stories to build a bridge across Moore's chasm. Allow peer influence to accelerate adoption alongside those management mandates. In a world where most law firms are still debating whether to let their senior associates use ChatGPT to respond to an email, MinterEllison has dived in headfirst, and that takes real courage. With the right execution strategy, they could set the template for how traditional professional services firms navigate digital transformation. And I'm in the grandstand cheering them on. After all, as Peter Drucker said, the best way to predict the future is to create it.